talk about parking, some of that stuff. Then we do the winners.
Okay.
So you can pull the ticket, I'll read the numbers.
Okay.
Swag bags first, and the last one is this. But they got to be present to win. So if we have no
Okay.
then we just keep drawing names. We hope.
Okay. I got my number in my own head.
All right.
I'm not gonna look in that hole. Okay.
Okay.
I need that computer, Fidel. I need the computer.
Good afternoon. We're going to start in another minute, so if we can ask those of you who are still standing to find your seats, and folks who are lingering outside to go ahead and come on in so we can begin our closing keynote. We're going to wait one second. I'm going to some other housekeeping things. It's a suspense. All right, so good afternoon and welcome back. We hope you enjoyed, I think it's probably a jam-packed couple hours, but in terms of being able to dive in a little deeper in a couple unique areas of some challenges and obstacles right now in the healthcare industry and learn more about how some individuals and organizations are really creating disruptive solutions, unique solutions and approaches to help our community and to help healthcare. So as we go into our last session, got some more housekeeping details. The first has to do with parking. So those of you, when you arrived today, if you parked in the Marriott self-serve parking, when you went to the registration table this morning, hopefully you received a pink ticket. So that pink ticket is what you'll provide on your way out that will make that into complimentary parking. So if you didn't get a pink ticket on your way back out to the lobby, stop by the registration table and make sure you get a pink ticket. We understand that as the morning went on, that actually that parking lot was full. So some people may have parked then in short-term or long-term parking or other places in the airport. If on your way out, you also stop by that registration table, you're going to get a white ticket. So you can use that ticket at short-term, long-term, but other parking facilities. The key is when you get that white ticket on your way out this evening or this afternoon, when you exit and leave that parking facility, you need to exit through a cashier line. So if you go through the SunPass, it's not going to recognize that, right? And then you give them that white ticket, and at that point, that should also be considered complimentary parking. Right. So hopefully, check, parking. All right. Other details. Next has to do with commencement. So we know folks from UMA are aware of what tomorrow is. We just want to make sure that others that are here joining us from the Tampa Bay area or even other guests that are coming in from across the country who've been speakers today, that we hope tomorrow morning, if you're still here with us, that we want to invite you to come to our commencement ceremony. It's really a special time. It's at USF in the Yingling Center, and commencement begins tomorrow morning at 10:30 a.m. For the last 6 months, we have 2 ceremonies a year. We have a group of eligible graduates to participate in the ceremonies, 3,600. And actually, some of those will be from the Clearwater campus. Some are from our former Tampa campus and now the online campus. And about 800 of those graduates will actually be here in Tampa live to participate in those ceremonies. So we know, for those of us that work with the school, it's always an amazing time. It's inspirational. It reminds you why we do what we do. It's a really incredible opportunity. So we encourage you to join us. If you are local, especially if you're staying here in the hotel or staying here in the hotel, please know that in the morning, if you'd like to take advantage of the shuttle service over to USF, you would go downstairs to where valet parking is for the Marriott, and the shuttle will leave at 9 o'clock and take you directly to the Yingling Center, to the main entrance. And then after the ceremony, anyone who wants transportation back to the airport, to the Marriott, then you'd meet outside Yingling Center at 1:30, and that will come directly back here for those people that want to depart or people who park here tomorrow and then want to take the shuttle in. Okay. All right, housekeeping check. All right. Winners, committee, almost, get your tickets ready. So next we are going to tee up for the winners for the swag bag and that laptop. Before we do that, I just want to take a moment. There's some really special people here that have worked really tirelessly the last several months in putting together the summit. And I want to have an opportunity to recognize those committee members and for all of us to extend our thank you for this opportunity today. So those committee members include, and I'd ask that those folks that they could stand to be recognized, and if you could remain standing and we can give them one big applause at the end, that would be great. So Jordy Highland, April Newman, Rebecca Sarlo, Martha Monford, Natalie Mitchell, Carrie Gibson, Abigail Nichols, Mark Palmer, Haley Wood, Lynn Ding, and Hillary McGinty. Thank you. In addition to those actual committee members, want to recognize two additional really leaders out of that group that this is possible because of their direct work and all the details to make today possible. So Michelle Hope and Leah Bell, will you please stand? These ladies have done an amazing job, and we thank you so much for what's really been a great day. Thank you so much. So in terms of our swag bag winners, so thanks to everyone. We got a whole bunch of tickets in here who stopped by the Clearwater Career Services desk, got a chance to meet Roslyn. And so we have our graduate, Adrienne, who's going to pull tickets. All right. We're going to go quickly and try to find folks. All right, so the numbers, and they probably all begin with 737-640. Woo! All right, so that's Natalie. So if your ticket's called, have it come in. All right, next, 737-617. Woo! All right, number 2. For the third swag bag, 737-688. All right, Brian Gonzalez. Next, 737-602. 602? Not present. All right. 737-673. Present and quick. Okay, last 3 digits, 606. 678. All right, I don't see any empty tables, really. 644. Woo! Okay. 717. Carolina. All right, and the next one's for the laptop.
Let me reach in my shirt. No.
All right, and again, we want to thank one of our sponsors, Dell, for providing the laptop. All right. 684. Oh, nice. Taz, take over here. Okay. All right. So our closing keynote speaker today, John Corus, is a nationally recognized leader in the healthcare industry. He's currently the president and chief executive officer of Tampa General Hospital, and has asked for me to keep the introduction short so we can get back on schedule. But he's going to really have an opportunity today to walk us through his work with Tampa General and in his career focusing on disruptive solutions, right? Disrupting the status quo to deliver world-class patient care. John Corus.
Good afternoon. No. Is this? Yeah, you can hear? All right. Everybody can hear me okay? All right. Well, it's great to be with you. Thank you very much for keeping it short. We'll get to know me as the presentation goes on, the presentation that I give you as we go through it. You know, I was looking at your day, and all of the topics really are around, you know, transforming healthcare, disrupting healthcare, innovating. What does the new healthcare leader look like? What's the new healthcare professional look like? What are the skills you need to come to an organization like a Tampa General with as the whole industry changes? And so as I was asked by Jane to give this talk, I said, you know, I thought about talking about disruption, but then I thought, you know what, I'm going to show you how we're dealing with it and leave you with a real practical example of how all of this innovation and disruption and transformation comes together and how an institution like a TGH deals with it. Make sense? Okay. So we start with sort of our true north, right? So one of the things we did, now I've been at TGH for about a year, a little over a year, and I inherited an excellent organization with a very long and successful history. My job, along with a team of people, is to go from being excellent to world class. It's very simple. So it starts with, you know, what's our true north? You know, who are we in a few words? And in a few words, we're what you see up here. We heal, we teach, and we innovate. So as educators in the room, and I believe we have some of your students with us, and they do a great job, but it starts right here. We heal, we teach, and we innovate. 3 words I want all 8,000, or actually over 8,000 team members to understand, and I want 1,400 physicians to appreciate as we move into the future. And very, very important, because this becomes our touchstone in everything that we do. Now, I'll go through a little bit of TGH because some of you may not know who we are. Just a quick show of hands. How many people are from out of town? Okay, so a lot of you. So I'll give you a little bit of who we are, the impact we have on our community. I'll go through what's happening in healthcare nationally. We'll talk a little bit about how we're dealing with it, and then we'll get into a few strategies, because those strategies require people, and people that you train, quite frankly, in a lot of cases. So let's get right into the history. So when I say we have a rich history, we are almost 100 years old. We were founded in 1927 as a public hospital. And we started teaching probably in the 40s, and we became a private not-for-profit hospital in the mid-90s. And as I said, we've had a long history of innovation. So through all of that, for example, we were the first hospital in the state of Florida in the 80s to do a successful heart transplant, okay? Just to kind of give you a sense of the innovation that sits here. In 2010, we built, and these are just examples, in 2010, we built one of the most sophisticated level 3 NICUs in the country, 84 beds, one of the largest, I might add, thanks to the generosity of the Muma family. And then as you could see sort of some of the other accolades and items that we've been singled out for. And then in April, we kicked off a new plan, a new vision. So rich history, which is going to carry us forward. Now, why is that important? Because I personally conduct the beginning of every single employee orientation in the organization. I'm not there all day, but I lead off every single one. They see this plan. I expect our doctors, our nurses, our allied health professionals, our students, the folks that you train, to understand and appreciate the history and the legacy that they are carrying on for the institution and for the community. That's really, really important to us as an organization. And I would argue it's important to most world-class organizations. What I tell people is if you're just coming here for a job, and some people do, we're probably not the place to come to. We look for passion. We look for an enthusiasm and a commitment really to excellence. And so we're big too. So if you look at us by the numbers, your students come to an institution that's really large. We are the second largest hospital in the state of Florida. We do almost 32,000 surgeries, over 100,000 emergency visits. We're the 19th busiest transplant center in the country. Now there's 253 transplant centers in the United States. We are number 19, and when you look at our outcomes, we're in the top 10%. That's world class. And we transplant every major organ. And we're getting ready, actually, to start live liver organ transplants at TGH. We brought in 2 new liver surgeons to lead that initiative. So we're big. And we cover a geography that has roughly 4 million people in it, okay? So we take care of lots and lots of people, and we're what you consider a tertiary quaternary academic facility. So why we're essential? So, okay, we're big, and there's lots of big hospitals in our country, and there's lots of hospitals that do really good work. But we also look at it in a way, like, why are we essential? Why are we different than others? Well, we're different for a couple of reasons. We talked about transplant already. We take care of, in this community, 21% of the charity care in the entire Tampa Bay market, 21%. We take care of the 3rd sickest Medicare population in the state of Florida. We have over 330 residents and fellows, over 50 residency training programs and fellowship programs, something that I'm real proud about. Last year, we contributed $146 million in community benefit. $86 million of that was on care, direct patient care. Health Park is for those that aren't familiar with Tampa, it's on the north side of the city. And between Health Park and another location, we take care of 86,000 people annually who otherwise would have no place to go. And we care for them longitudinally. We create a medical home for them because we believe in the idea that every single person, regardless of their ability to pay, deserves access to world-class health care, regardless of their socioeconomics or their payer status. And we treat, and I am very proud of this because we treat everyone. And not every hospital can say that. Tampa General Hospital can. And again, as you engage folks like us, I think it's important for you to understand what drives your partners, what your partners' culture's like, what we think about, and we think about impact. We think about what we're doing for this community, and we think about it in terms of one patient at a time. Even though we're dealing with tens of thousands, if not millions in some cases, we think about it at the end of the day, one patient at a time. And then finally, on this slide that I'm very proud of, is the fact that 66% of the pediatric patients we serve are either uninsured or underinsured. That's a big deal. I mean, oh yeah, it is. And this slide, by the way, is not to say, wow, look how great you guys are. This slide's to tell you the impact we have, but more institutions, in my opinion, have to think like this, right? Particularly when it comes to the care of patients. So the strategic plan that you're about to see started with an idea and morphed into our medical executive committee engaging, our boards engaging. I had the opportunity to present a much more detailed plan to our team members. So again, going back to your students, a lot of them that are at Tampa General participated in a session for 2 hours with me. I did 30 of them. And I was able to present in front of 99% of every single team member at Tampa General for 2 hours on our strategic plan. Not just the plan, but the whys behind the plan. Again, it's really important in what you're about to see and how healthcare is changing. It's important that people that are trained in healthcare understand the significance of their work, but understand the reasons why we make the change and actually participate in that conversation. We're also doing the same thing with, we have close to 1,400 physicians on staff, 50% from USF, and the other 50% are private physicians in the community. So very participatory, very transparent, lots of great feedback. The other thing that we created is a group of partners that help us fulfill the strategy you're about to see. So I am sure people a lot smarter than me, doing really innovative things today, got in front of you to talk about all sorts of ways to partner and innovate and collaborate. One way we do it, so this is like at the ground level, is every one of these people are helping us move the needle forward for Tampa General and for our community and for our region. So we are collaborating with all sorts of really interesting businesses, both big and small. This, again, is important because a health system or an institution like ours, we can't be everything. We can't be good at literally everything as much as sometimes I think we are. We're not. So let's take Amazon, for example. We're partners with Amazon Business two ways. The first is we now purchase through Amazon. Not everything, but sort of like the tail end of the purchasing that we do. Like, for example, we're so big. I mean, we're 3 million square feet on 25 acres in the city, if you include our parking and everything. But when we work with a company called Grainger for equipment, and when the Grainger rep is in his office doing an analysis on what we need, we have somebody right next to him shopping Amazon. And the deal is Amazon gets it to us cheaper, we buy it from Amazon and not from Grainger, unless they price match, right? I mean, that's an example of some, on-the-ground innovation. But the other thing that Amazon's really, and what I'm most excited about, and you might have talked about this, is this whole idea of pricing transparency, consumerism, retail medicine, that whole idea. Amazon gets it, right? We don't. Because healthcare providers, we're in the wholesale business. We're not in the retail business. Because think about it. When I sit in front of Florida Blue or United or Aetna, I'm negotiating for big blocks of patients to have access to them. And so the larger the pool of patients, the greater the discount in a lot of cases the payer wants. So it's a wholesale business, right? It's not a real retail-oriented business. And so that's changing, though. So we need companies like Amazon and Apple and others to help us think differently. And we are engaging every one of these organizations in sort of a new approach to care. You're going to see the GE Healthcare example in a bit more detail in a few moments. So now that's a little bit about us. It's why we're important and essential to this community, the partners that we're bringing to the table. Now let's talk about what's happening in healthcare across the country. Now, I hope this doesn't conflict with everything that you spent all day learning, but this is our attempt to put healthcare on a single slide. This is an attempt. Now, some may think it's a feeble one. I don't. I think it summarizes what's going on in the world of healthcare very nicely. The little figures here represent us. Every one of us is somewhere along this continuum. We're either living healthy and exercising and doing prevention and eating right and all that kind of stuff. We get hurt, we get sick, we get diagnosed and treated. We get fixed, and we either go home with home health care, or we go to some post-acute care environment, right? This whole idea of care coordination and being in the health and wellness business is new to us. If you ask a lot of administrators, they would tell you we're in the sickness business. I mean, I run a tertiary quaternary academic medical center. We get the sickest of the sick, the most complicated patients, and we get the ones that no one else knows what to do with, and then we get in there and in most cases save their lives, okay? So you'd say, well, you're in the sickness business, John. We're not. We're in the health and wellness business, and we're in the care coordination business, and a piece of what we do is sickness. Now, this is important for the future caregivers of our industry. This isn't, whether you're UMA or whether you're any other school that educates their students, they have to understand they're coming in to a very different environment. We cannot make the same mistake the railroad business did or industry did in the United States. Our railroad systems wouldn't exist from a passenger perspective if they weren't subsidized heavily by the government, right? What the railroad business failed to realize is they're not in the railroad business, they're in the transportation business. And when people say, well, that's ridiculous, what do you mean? I say, go to Europe and travel on a train, okay? And then come to Boston, where I'm from originally, and take Amtrak from Boston to New York City and tell me the differences between the European experience of traveling on a train and traveling from Boston to New York, even at first class and the fancy, supposed to be fast train. It's a horrible experience. I've done it plenty of times. We don't want to be the railroads. We're in the health and wellness business. We're in the care coordination business. And there's three big things that are driving the industry we're all in. Consumers are much more engaged than they've ever been in their health care. Why? Because of technology. I like to use my daughter, my 17-year-old, she's a hypochondriac. And so she will get online and she will take the headache and go to like WebMD, and then you type in a symptom and they have you dead because they bring you all the way to the worst case scenario, and then you gotta work your way back. And then, quite frankly, I find myself in the fast track ER, I mean, which is around the corner from my house. I'm a very good customer. But it's because she's engaged, and I give up and acquiesce and say, okay, let's go, like the type of thing. Now, the other thing that's happening is this shift to value and low cost. Think about a vacation you recently went on in the last year. You probably purchased the vacation on reviews you saw online, on cost and deals, on value, right? Word of mouth, all that. Well, if you buy your vacation on like that, why wouldn't you want to buy healthcare like that? Why wouldn't you want to be able to understand healthcare the same way? That's happening, everybody. That's happening right now. So when you teach about customer satisfaction and being consumer-oriented and focused and friendly and affable and all of those things, those are important because they become very important to the consumer. So that's the backdrop of our strategic plan. Now, the challenges we all have is that we still operate in a siloed mentality. This does not get met with lots of fanfare when I'm in front of administrators, but I do it anyway because I get a kick out of the response. I say that we're running hospitals the same way we ran them 100 years ago. Now, usually someone gets really upset and says, how do you know that? You weren't here 100 years ago, things like that. And I'm like, because we do. Actually, we could have even made it a little worse because we rolled out the electronic medical record when it wasn't really ready for prime time because the government said, well, I know, and we all live it. But the government, I said, don't blame your friendly administrator. We didn't do it, trust me. We'd prefer paper if you gave us truth serum and we weren't in a crowded room, but I just said it. We would prefer it because if you're an Apple user, until the EMR works like your Apple phone and is that intuitive, it's not ready for prime time, right? So you have challenges as educators. The worst thing is I work in operations 3 or 4 times a month, and I hate it when I see my nurses and doctors' heads inside a computer when the patient's right there and they're completely immersed in the computer. It's not their, that's right, it's not their fault, but they're stuck, right? So we've got to, and we're very siloed. We're very, very siloed. Well, innovation, this was the day, right? Well, we are introducing a new model. And as this builds on the slide, this is the whole idea of going from being in the sickness business to the health and wellness business and in the care coordination business. This is the new model of healthcare, in my opinion. It's patient-centered system of care. It's going from silos to a system. This is a great book for those folks that enjoy this. It's an oldie but a goldie. It's called The Fifth Discipline by Peter Senge from MIT. Get it, read it. He should probably pay me for this because I'm sure he's seeing a spike up in his things. He's like, my God, this is a 30-year-old book. Why are people buying it? No, the fact of the matter is, that's where I got intrigued about systems thinking. When I was at Mass General for 10 years and the medical school, and so I got intrigued about all of this reading The Fifth Discipline. Okay, so systems thinking is critical because we got to break down the silos. We got to organize around the patient experience, around the provider experience, right? And so let's talk a little bit about how we're doing. And please, whoever's watching the time, and we got off to a late start, I'm trying to make up for it. You can pull me right off stage at any point you want. I'm okay. As I said, I'm delighted to be here, but when the Governor Swift says, could you do this, it's hard to say no to her, so I said absolutely. Here are 6 strategies, okay? So that outline what I just showed you, right? 6 big strategies. First, I'm going to talk to you about quality. Then I'm going to talk to you about operational excellence. I'm going to talk to you about development of team members, and then some growth and consumer stuff, and then finish it up with a little bit of physician piece, but I know there's not a lot of docs in here, and I don't think we're training docs at UMA yet, but I won't spend much time on that last piece, so we can spend a little bit more time on the other ones. Because the other ones, your students, this theme, for the educators in the room, are really touching all of this. The first big one, and it's first not just because we put it first, just because it's the most important thing institutions should be focused on, and that is quality, safety, clinical outcomes, and patient experience. What I tell my team, I've been at TGH for a little over a year, as I said. What I tell my team, and they'll accuse me of repeating things over and over again. As a matter of fact, the dean at dinner the other night said, I remind him of his father, because his father used to tell him the same thing 3 or 4 times over and over again. And I said, Dean, if you did it the first time the way we said we would do it, I wouldn't have to repeat it 3 more times. I love Charlie. We have a very good relationship. He's another guy from Massachusetts, I might add. I don't know, there's this theme of like really great and cool people from Massachusetts. I don't know. And I think we clinched the AL East last night too, but anyway, okay, I'm digressing, I'm getting all excited. I'm going up there for a week actually in October, but that's not why you're here. You're not here to Patriots, Red Sox, it's gonna be unbelievable. It really is. I haven't been this excited in a long time. And my wife's like, why are you so excited? I said, no, I love you, honey, but it's with the guys, and I don't. But quality is really important, and value is really important, because at the end of the day, what I tell my team, back to kind of the soul of education's repetition, and you all can appreciate that, right? I say to my team, don't worry about volume. Don't worry about it. Worry about value. Worry about quality. Worry about service. Worry about safety, okay? Don't worry about volume, because if you worry about and you train your people on this kind of stuff, quality, doing it right the first time, creating safe environments, creating the confidence to speak up when you see something not going correctly, right? Volume will come because people want to come to places they feel safe in and they get great results from. Don't worry about what matters most to the patient, right? And that's this stuff. So we're going to do I'm going to talk to you 1 or 2 things. I won't dig deep in any one of these. The big theme here is zero harm. So here's the we have, I know you're going to think like, oh my God, does he do anything outside of New England? And I do a lot. But we have the Institute for Healthcare Improvement, which is Don Berwick's group from Boston. And I know I've been accused of like, don't you think other people can do it? Yes, there's plenty of great stuff all over the country. There just seems to be a concentration of it in Boston. I don't know. So Anyway, I'm fooling around. So, and I'm losing all the time I made up for you, and then I'm going to get yanked off, and you're not even going to see the end of the presentation. So, but here's what's very, very important: zero harm, creating a just culture. So I asked the Institute for Healthcare Improvement to come in and do an assessment of our entire quality, environment, and culture. We're moving to a just culture which will drive zero harm. That is our goal, to achieve zero harm to our patients and our team members. That is the strategy. Now, there's lots of stuff around it, but culturally, it's all about creating a just culture. And people will say, well, what does a just culture mean? I mean, what does that mean? That means a culture where, and I say this to my team, one of my vice presidents is here now. I think it's evaluation time, so I think he's here to get some brownie points, like, no one else is here to see you talk, John, but I'm here to see you talk. Oh, I'm sorry, one of my senior VPs are here too. I apologize, Robin, but your timing is impeccable because our evaluations are out soon. So, but a culture of, and they'll attest to this, to get the best out of you, we don't break you down, we build you up. It's nice. By the way, that's cool to say. It's not always easy to do, right? But that's a just culture. Or how about when someone makes a mistake, they don't get fired? There was a time, and we have some of these, I'm embarrassed to say, but we're getting rid of a lot of this. Red rules. You might have even heard this. Things that if you break, you're suspended. Red rules. That was a big thing in healthcare. That's not a just culture, because you know what a red rule does? Just makes the person hide it. We don't want you to hide it. We want you to tell us about it. We don't want to celebrate it, but we want to understand it, we want to learn from it, and we want to grow from it. That's really, really important for us, and I would argue for most. But that's an example of a just culture. The next big strategy for us is operational excellence. Okay? Now, the theme here is team. So here's the interesting thing. So I am not a physician. I am an administrator who trained up in New England and really got my practical training at the MGH and the medical school. And so, but doctors, and I spent my 10 years immersed in the physician world. Physicians learn as individuals. They don't learn as teams. We don't have enough time to break that down, but I literally could break that down for you. They learn as individuals, not teams. We are in an environment where it's all about the team. Now, by the way, it's not that a lot of doctors don't know how to work in the team kind of environment, but you decide, well, I'm going to do it a little bit. You decide you're a doctor, generally you like medicine in high school, and as soon as you decide you want medicine, you're basically told what to do and when to do it from that point all the way through your residency, all the way through your fellowship. Oh, and by the way, you're pitted against each other because you're competing for a finite number of slots. I'm not criticizing it, it's just the way it works. And then I learn how to fix your problem. You come to my office with a cough, my job's to fix your problem right there and then. It's a one-to-one relationship. People like us are more oriented around a one-to-many relationship. So this idea in your classrooms of teaching the importance of culture and team and collaborating is really, really important. And that's what we're doing here. We're bringing in through General Electric, GE Healthcare. It didn't start in Boston, but they are headquartered there. And that is a complete coincidence. I'm telling you right now. That's a complete coincidence. But GE Healthcare, we've engaged them. We're spending about $13 million, but the return is going to be about 60 to 80 million of real savings. By the way, as a not-for-profit, that goes back into our hospital for new positions and staffing and equipment and infrastructure, right? But we are bringing in artificial intelligence and we're bringing in predictive analytical modeling to literally re-engineer the entire hospital from stem to stern. Not because we have major problems and we're broken, quite to the contrary. Because world-class organizations, whether you're in healthcare or outside of healthcare, are always challenging the status quo. You are never satisfied. You always want to go to the next level. So I've got a 2-minute video that sort of summarizes this whole initiative through Dr. Peter Chang, one of our physicians, one of our vice presidents, actually VP of Care Coordination. He's going to explain this to you, I hope. Any volume? We didn't tell you that the...
Healthcare to create a care coordination center. In doing so, we're going to create a NAXA-style command center that allows for appropriate care coordination here at our hospital. The project begins with re-engineering. That's looking at all the different processes in the hospital and finding better, quicker, and more efficient ways of providing care for our patients. During this process, we'll identify pressure points that slow down care and look at creating solutions for these problems. Once we create a solution, we have to be able to test that solution against the model before implementation. And in doing so, GE has what they're calling the digital TGH twin. As the re-engineering process continues, we'll be able to pass the outcomes into the TGH digital twin. The TGH digital twin is a predictive analytic model of TGH that allows us to test the output from re-engineering against the model of TGH. This allows us to forecast ideas such as our future capacity to care for patients, what our staffing models should be, and how we would plan for our future budgets. The second component is the NASA-style center where we're going to co-locate our teams. There will be 3 other care coordination centers in North America. We'll have a wall of analytics, which will be approximately 25 screens mounted on a wall. Using the wall of analytics, TGH will be able to track outcomes based off of the re-engineering processes we implement. This allows our team to gain access to real-time data to be able to make small tweaks in the re-engineering we've done already, and we'll be able to better coordinate how patients transition through our hospital. By co-locating our teams, they're going to be able to communicate with one another to make sure we're providing the most efficient care for our patients. Here at TGH, we are pioneers in innovation, and we will be the first center in the Southeast to create this type of technology in partnership with General Electric.
So hopefully that made a little bit of sense around what we're doing, taking people power and marrying it up with artificial intelligence and engaging people at the bedside to re-engineer the work. So this idea of top-down kind of goes away, and it's from the bedside up that we start re-engineering and doing the work that we need to do to improve and enhance the experience, okay? So again, technology is a theme, and you've probably heard it all day. Technology is a real theme in everything that we're doing. Johns Hopkins is doing this. We're modeling off this after Hopkins. They're about 3 years ahead of us. Humbert River in Toronto's about 1.5 years ahead of us. But those are the 2 institutions we're using as models. They're doing the exact same thing we're doing. And they're not in Boston, so hey, go figure. Now, as we begin to, and this again I think is important, and for you as you think about actually the future of what you do and how you educate people, if we're going to ask our team members to think and behave differently, they've got to be trained differently. We've got to engage them differently. So we're building basically a leadership institute and a team member development kind of institute inside TGH. We're using USF Muma College of Business along with the University of Tampa to provide the content and to provide the subject matter expertise around that, but we've got to teach our staff. And we have to succession plan and talent map around every individual. So probably a year from now to 18 months from now, all 8,400 team members will have a talent map around them for 3 years. So if John Corus comes in as a patient care tech or as a medical assistant, the responsibility of the manager will be able to sit with John Corus and say, where do you want to be in 3 years? Now, he or she John might say, I want to be doing exactly what I'm doing today, and we need to make sure we have tools and resources from an educational perspective around that person so they can stay in place but still be developed. But I might say I want to be a supervisor, I want to be a manager, I want to become a PCT or a nurse. We need to be able to not only talent map, but create a pathway for them to achieve what they want. And that gets tied to succession planning, and all of that work gets tied back to innovation and the cultural shifts and the work that we're doing. Very, very important. This is where I think education and the right type of educational partners not only are really relevant, but they become strategic partners and differentiators in how you deliver the new set of services and programs you're designing to deliver, if that makes sense to the folks in the room. Expansion, well, I think the takeaway here, now this is TGH, so for those who are not from the area, we've got lots of stuff. We've got a big hospital, close to 3 million square feet, over 1,000-bed hospital, all that stuff. On the Davis Island, and coming here, everybody talked about the island like, I thought we were like 9 miles off the coast of Tampa, like connected by a footbridge, that we were like, oh my God, the island. Now, being on an island poses its challenges, but I mean, I can literally throw a ball over to the other side, the mainland, so we can always ferry food if we need to, if we get stranded back and forth. We do have challenges, though, which we're dealing with infrastructure-wise, but we're off the island big time. We've got 14 primary care offices. We've got 15 imaging centers. We've got Health Park, which I talked to you about. We have a big outpatient center of about 128,000 square feet in Brandon. We purchased our first urgent care in Brandon. We started that purchase like 9, 10, 11 months ago, and it sort of took us that long to get there. So we own that 100%. It was a quick purchase, well, 9, 10, 11 months. It wasn't so quick until our new vice president came in and sort of said, you're doing this wrong, John. Get out of the way and let me do it. And so we've got that. But that urgent care center is going to get folded into the urgent care platform that we're building right now, or that we're in the process of building. We'll probably, honest to God, I mean, people will sit here and say, there's no way. I think if we do this correctly with urgent care and a couple of variations of urgent care, but across that platform, we'll have 50 or 60 sites. We really will. We've got some interesting strategies around all of that. I'm really, really excited about. Now, but if you notice, we're in Hillsborough County, which I believe is the third fastest growing county in the country, I believe. And if it's not the third, it's it's in the top 10 for sure in the country. And that's okay, but we got to expand. And so we're expanding. And so again, as you think about sort of educating the future healthcare providers, the light blue area represents where we're building quaternary specialty clinics. So in healthcare, lots of hospitals can't afford sophisticated programs and physicians, not because they can't do it, it's just too expensive. So we're getting out in the outlying areas. We're working with Lee Health right now in Fort Myers on transplant. We started conversations with the Watson Clinic, which is in Lakeland, on transplant work. Because you can't just wake up one day and say, hey, we're going to get into the transplant business. Because if we're patients, you don't want to go to a transplant program that does like 5 kidneys a year or 4 livers a year. You know, in our industry, as you all know, lots of volume equals proficiency, and proficiency drives quality. So, you know, volume's important. So we're expanding our footprint. And I tell you, if I came back 5 years from now and shared our second chapter, you would see this chart across the state on the east coast of Florida as well. Closer to home, urgent cares, we talked about, convenient cares. Just again, as you think about your own platform, we're going to test this hopefully up in the Pasco market. If you think about what a family needs, they need a healthy family or a healthy individual. You need a dentist, an eye doctor, a dermatologist, a primary care doctor, a pediatrician, and an OB. 6 docs. Basically take care of 98% of your care. Imagine having a convenient care center where it's not the doctor will see you now, it's the patient will see you now. So we're leveraging technology right now that will allow a patient to say, I want to go to the dentist and I'm coming to this site. show me what's available. I click on it, and as I get closer to the facility, the system registers you and says, you're coming in, go to room 6 and we'll take care of you. You don't stop and check in and wait. You go to the available room. That technology, by the way, exists, and we are going to do a proof of concept up in one of our markets that the demographic looks good around. You know, the demo works for us up there. Now, what I told my team, and you got to understand, failure is not a bad thing. If you're not failing every once in a while, you're not pushing hard enough, right? Failure, that's where you need to celebrate that, because that means you're pushing. So my team gets a little anxious and says, well, what if it doesn't work? Okay, we'll convert it to a traditional kind of a center and we'll move on with it. Or we'll figure out why it doesn't work and we'll 10 more minutes? Oh, I'm doing good. Because usually they hold up the red card because I'm like -5, -10. So, or plus, I guess, is what. But we're doing that. So, and that's an example of consumerism, right? That's an example of leveraging things like technology and apps on your phone. And what about this idea? House calls. And did anybody grow up where they got a house call? Yeah. Okay, again, I know you're going to say, get off the New England shtick. But this is the reality. So I grew up on the North Shore of Boston, Marblehead, Swampscott, Beverly, if anybody's familiar. Like the North Shore, oh, you familiar-ish? Okay. Oh, Newbury, oh, gorgeous town, really, it is. It's like super pretty. And when I was at MGH, it was too far to travel, though, to work. It was too far away, but we looked up there. But in New England, when I was a kid, the doctor came to my house. The reason house calls stopped was because it was inefficient and there was the reimbursement went away for it, generally speaking. Imagine leveraging technology and bringing back house calls. So like an Uber environment. So mom's at home talking to the doctor through telehealth. Doctor decides baby child should come in. But they say, you could come in, or we could send somebody to you. We could send an ARNP, we could send a PA, we could send a doctor, but probably a doctor just starting out. And we come to you, you don't come to us. Moms, by the way, would love it, right? Because I don't think we're any different than any other family. Moms, when they're sitting in a doctor's office with sick kids all around, and they're in their pediatrician's office and they're like 45 minutes late and they're freaking out. They don't want to be there. I mean, honest to God, well, maybe my wife's the only one calling me saying, can you do something? I'm like, no, I run the hospital, not that office. God, this is true. Like, yeah, I know, you can't, sometimes you just can't win. Both sides, men and women. But I'm like, no, I can't do anything. But this whole bringing back house calls by leveraging technology is really kind of a neat thing. Now, we do it now for like high acuity patients. We do. People will say, well, we do that now. You do. We do that for like super sick patients. This isn't that. This is like for people like us in this room. We need a doctor's visit. We may not want to leave our home or, quite frankly, our office to get it. So why not bring it to the consumer? That's a disruption that's pretty darn cool. And we're going to start to tinker with things like this and build out these kind of platforms. We are so those who are from Tampa know USF Health well. We have a medical group, and then we have our community physicians, our private practice physicians. We're building a new model for them, a whole new sort of economic and clinical model and platform for all three. But we're really, USF and TGMG, we're coming together in a very different way, and I'm very excited about that, but I won't bore you with the gory details of all of that. Now, it's interesting. So I bring you through our whole strategic plan, culture, direction, and we end where we started. Well, I do have a little snippet, a little video for you at the end that should be high impact, I hope. My marketing team tells me it will be. But we go back, to we heal, we teach, we innovate, and then we have a position statement, an internal position statement. So when people say, well, what does that really mean, John? It's there, it's detailed for people to understand it. But again, you got to go back to your true north. You got to kind of go back to touchstone that's driving the whole strategy to begin with, right? And the other thing I would caution people about is you want to stay laser focused. When you get into an innovative environment and all this change and transition in our industry, everybody, we all feel this, it's easy to get distracted by the next shiny object, right? You cannot do that. You cannot do that. Once you set your vision and your strategy, you have got to execute. Now, you will practice strategic improvisation, and I will plug a book that's awesome. I didn't write it. I don't know who wrote it, but it's an awesome book. It's called All I Learned About Business I Learned from the Grateful Dead. You gotta read the book. All I Learned About Business I Learned from the Grateful Dead. And yeah, I get the same reaction, like really? Like, what did they do? They were pioneers in how they distributed their music to, because I was not, well, I liked the Dead. I wouldn't say I was a Deadhead, but they were pioneers in how they distributed music and how they engaged their customer, their listener. It is an awesome book about strategic improvisation. And don't mix it up with getting distracted with that next shiny object. And so when you put all this together, this is our new positioning statement to the community. And for those that live in the Tampa market, you will have seen our new commercials and our new platform. This will resonate. I hope it works. This is the point you're standing up and going crazy, you know? I know, right? Thank you. I know. All the other groups I presented to were standing up at this point. Whatever. Thank you very much. I don't know if you can answer questions. Hey.
You need to stay for a couple minutes.
All right.
So, I'm Jane Swift. Some of you saw me speak earlier. You were referring to Governor Swift. They have no idea who that is, because I go by Jane, except for those folks who work with me every day in the executive suite who are like, oh my God, he thinks he's as funny as she thinks she is. They are both such big assholes.
That's right.
Already mentioned the whole Red Sox thing in a board meeting where I can count votes.
Right.
And they're all from New York, but I couldn't help myself anyway.
I know.
Last night in Yankee Stadium. So, anyway, the champagne just tastes better when you do it, right?
Oh, absolutely. Everybody hates a winner, I know, you know. We win all the time.
So I want to thank you. I really appreciate you taking the time, coming here, and I'm hoping you can help me present these Health Innovation
Sure.
Awards. Some of these are our local employers, some are corporate alliance members. Some of these folks you know better than others. As all of you just heard from John's presentation, Tampa General is absolutely a beacon of innovation. You do heal, you do teach, and you do innovate through your partnerships, innovative technologies, team engagement, cultural evolution. You're delivering world-class quality and patient-centric care that really is indicative of one of America's best. And doing it in Florida, not in Massachusetts, which is just extraordinary. Is the area's only level 1 trauma center, one of 4 verified burn centers in Florida, one of the top transplant centers in the U.S., and as I shared earlier, something newly near and dear to my heart, in the primary teaching hospital for the USF Health Morsani College of Medicine. TGH really is vital to the health of Tampa Bay, and that really is so important, not just to UMA, but to all of us, to our families, to their quality of life. So to thank you and the work that you and your team do. You want to turn it off or on? You can't hear me? I find my mother is a Catholic school teacher. I can't believe you couldn't hear me. But you were laughing at my jokes even when you couldn't hear them, which is better. But to thank you for all the work that you and Tampa General do. I want you to help me to do a group photo and to present all of these awards. So first, Lincare, Todd Gladden and Shiraz Mohammed for our corporate alliance. Lincare's mission is to set the standard for excellence, transforming the way respiratory care is delivered in the home. Lincare has a vision to enable patients with chronic conditions to remain engaged in life by partnering with patients to provide quality care, providing high quality services and supplies, promoting patient education, and building strong relationships with patients, physicians, families, and caregivers. Lincare is a leader in the delivery of in-home respiratory care. Thank you. Fantastic. Next is Grace Point. Joe Lalin, this is not a Massachusetts name, but it is an Italian name, I think, or maybe Spanish. Lalanilla? Somebody help me? No? Grace Point, a private, is he here? Then it doesn't matter. Maybe I so miss, well, he's definitely not going to win that computer either, right? You had to be here to win that. All right, is anybody here from Grace Point? Probably like a Yankees fan. Left. Sorry, no. All right. But thank you to Grace Point. They are getting an award. Fast Track Urgent Care, Dr. Darren Desidue. You know them. All right. As consumers' demand for convenient health care surges, urgent care has become one of the fastest growing segments of American health care, and today is an estimated $14.5 billion per year business. Thank you, Doctor, for your fast-tracked urgent care for providing better access to patient care to the Tampa Bay community. Thank you. All right. Largo Medical Center and HCA, Kevin Bellis, who was here earlier on my panel. Is Kevin still here? Or somebody from Largo? All right, in the United States, they are helping to meet the nursing shortage, just not right now. And lastly, this one is for you. I'm sure you don't have enough of these, but I really do want to thank you. Oh, you popped the glass on. I thought you caught it. Yeah, here, we'll do a picture. All right. If only we had found that Red Sox banner on the streets of Malden, we could have hoisted it here. But thank you very much. Thank you for being here. John's not as old as me, so he doesn't need glasses to read his notes. But so the other things I'm supposed to do are somewhat housekeeping. Julene has told you all of this many times. Please remember, if you're getting CME credits, to complete an evaluation now. It's in the center of the table. To earn CME credits for attending the keynote session, please say nice things about Mr. Corus, particularly if your evaluation is coming up. They're anonymous, but you know. But do the evaluation, leave it in the center of the table.
I do want to, again, thank our generous sponsors for their support of this event. And those would be our Platinum Innovator, Baker & Taylor Publisher Services, Paycom Inc., our Gold Innovator, Cengage Learning, Convene Inc., Custom Cuts, MDT Marketing, SNHU, that's a New England group as well, our Silver Innovator, Bellevue University, Blackboard Inc., Journea, Lead ID, and the Ultimate Software Group. We do hope everyone will be at our next 360 Summit in 2020. And then, did they already pull for the Dell computer, or they did? Oh, so that's why everybody left? Before they got that beautiful award? All right, so I hope everyone will be at our next 2020 360 Summit, and thank you really for being here. Thank you for that wonderful keynote, and travel safely on your way home. Thank you.